Hello, everyone, and welcome back to From the Depths of Music Cargo. Now, we are here once again in Land Designer with a vehicle design showcase. Now, we got a lot of things going on here, but we'll start with the spinning, burning, doom piles. Basically, this is, if we go in here, spinner, and we take a look, I've got a bunch of different functional setups for essentially base structures going on. So one of these or two of these are gathering material, some's battery storage, some's material storage, one's an RTG bank in case I decide to go that route. A couple different things, but mostly just back end logistics all put into these sort of friendly, environmentally friendly, and also definitely good guy spinning death pillars, because good guys need those. These are my base structures. You may have noticed that I've gone ahead and picked a camo. This is camo number 60. I think I'm going to be using it on literally everything for this campaign. This camo just reached out and grabbed me. I went through every single camo in the game, and this one I really love. So we're going to be using that one for now. We got a whole bunch of vehicle designs over there that we're going to use, but really quick, we'll just hop through the static defense. I've got some missile platforms. I don't know if I'm actually ever going to use these, but I built them, and I really like how they look. They make the whole thing feel like it's a lot more of a compound. So I've got this as a static defense. I've got these detector towers with inter-vehicle transmitters on them. These also work as static defense. They also work as a bit of a resource storage if I want to convert them into that. And then we've got a whole bunch of... They're technically vehicles, but there is no propulsion on them. This is a static defense line, if you will. Now, I've done this... They're all vehicles, because you can't pull a structure out of play and then move it around. But if it's technically a vehicle, even though it doesn't have the ability to drive around, you can move it at 3 meters a second and you can deploy it in battle. So I can make these and I can set them up in a defensive formation right before a fight by having them be vehicles. Other than that, they're basically just small, cheap gun platforms that are covered in a thin layer of armor. So hopefully glancing blows won't take them out. They'll need to get hit directly with something kind of heavy. Going over the weaponry of them, to start off with, we have a group of missiles. These have a range of 2300. They're full HE heads. They've also got APN and a signal processor on them, so these are pretty good at anti-air. We've got a quad 40mm in a small armor casing. We've gone for the quad 40mm because look at the cost here. This is actually cheaper than a single octuple gun, so we can build two of these if we want this firepower of an octuple gun, and it's still cheaper than the octuple gun, so that's why I've gone with the quad. Over here we got the 94mm simple weapon. This is firing HESH shells that are slightly smaller than the gun can accept for boosted fire rate. Over here we got the 150 case mate. Now these are firing... Where's it at? Where is it at? Oh god, the camera angle. Let's see. Yeah, look at this. This is a big daddy of a shell. Max size for the casemate. We've got a 6-pack of the simple lasers. These are surprisingly effective, and I haven't really used them before, but I'm looking forward to having them on a static defense. I think that they'll be pretty good against anything that gets too close. And then over here, the 130mm gun. I never know what to do with this one, so I never really know what to do with this shell. It fires a little too slow that I don't want it to be a small HESH shell, and it's not quite big enough that I want it to break blocks. So I've made this one into a disruptor EMP. I can add this into my defensive mix if I feel like I'm going to be going up against some stuff where disruptor EMP shells are going to be useful. I might convert it into full EMP, but I'm not sure if that update has dropped yet, where stuff is EMP proofed. So, gonna leave this on Disruptor and use it against more advanced designs, if at all. Now for the main event. The vehicles. We got a truck. to move resources around. It's nothing fancy, actually. It's just a little truck that I threw together using some mimic works and a whole bunch of resource stockpiles. Just a fun little aesthetic build. We've got a little helicopter pad that's on wheels that can dock 2 different helicopters. It's got a bunch of battery powers and some materials and some repair capability, so it can carry power and it can repair vehicles. We're going to be bringing back the Skeeter because I have loved this design. I've adapted it to match our armor scheme, or the camo scheme, and I've updated the armor on it a little bit because there were some spots that I could fill pretty easy. And then we've introduced this little scout vehicle dubbed the Prodromoi. I've taken off the applique, the alloy plating here, so that you can actually just see what's in it. It's literally just a ball of detection and then an electric engine. It hovers pretty high and it gives a lot of detections. It's got an inter-vehicle transmitter on it, so yeah, it helps everything see. And it's very cheap. It's only 2,800 materials. Up next, we have the Mccoy. Now, the Mccoy basically, it means the front line. This thing has 10 revolving blast guns in it. What I noticed about these revolving blast guns, and we'll just hop in here and show this off really quick. Pardon your eardrums for a moment. There we go. Oh my god, my eardrums. You'll notice those revolving blast guns actually shot through the rams and the lead beams here. And that's because I noticed during testing, I was like, if I place one of these here, I was like, I just want to see its damage potential. So how many metal beams does it break? And I started off doing basically a test like this. And the answer was, it doesn't interact with these 4 metal beams at all. None of the shells land this close, which means I can put 2 layers of lead and then a ram, and it would simply never interact. So the current armor scheme on this looks something like this, with one of these on the front. And yeah, this revolving blast gun just doesn't shoot these blocks. So I've never really used ram vehicles before, but after discovering that shotgun was insanely powerful and could shoot through armor, I decided to throw this thing together, and I'm excited to see how it does. So again, the Mccoy, sitting at 7,400 resources. It's made out of lead because I kid you not, changing all the metal on this from lead only slowed it down by 1.5 meters a second at its top velocity, and it amped up its weight by so much that its ram damage like tripled. So yeah, very excited to see how this thing performs. You may have noticed, if I showed you, that all of these designs are referred to as the hoplite, with extra bit on their name based on what weapon they have. This over here is the mounted hoplite. It's basically just 2 150 casemates using slightly smaller shells so that they have better reload time. The shells are also higher velocity so that they have better tracking. But yeah, it's just a cheap gun wagon to add into the mix of my vehicles for extra fire support. And then over here we have the Toxotai rocket wagon. I don't know if I'm saying these Greek words correctly, so if I'm saying them horrendously wrong, please forgive. But yeah, Toxotai is probably wrong. There's no way that's right. Rocket wagon over here, coming in at 21,000 materials. It's got some laser designators and a volley of 10 missiles. Very happy with how the camo also decided to lay itself out here. I think that this looks phenomenal, and I wish I had done this intentionally. I hadn't actually applied this camo when I designed this craft, so I'm very pleased with how that happened to turn out. Over here we got the Rhino. Now, I released a video on this yesterday. It's a time-lapse video. It's a little bit fast, so you know, I was trying to figure out how I could keep the whole thing in one time lapse and also not upload a 40-minute video. So I tried to cut out all the parts where I was just fiddling in menus, and I tried to keep it sped up, but it still ended up being a little fast to watch. Thankfully, YouTube has a slowdown feature, so if there is a part of this that you'd really like to see in depth, you can go back to that video and slow it down. And oh my god, I never... You guys didn't see anything. You guys did not see anything. That was... Feels bad, man. I don't like how it's on an angle either. I have to fix this. Yeah, I've still got a little bit of work to do on this thing. But overall, I'm very happy with this. Coming in at just under 33,000 materials. Now, this thing doesn't have very much active defense. And it's... Honestly, it's pretty cheap for the weapons that it's sporting. It's very fast and it handles terrain well. So I'm not planning on sticking around on this design for very long because its defensive scheme is not great. But it's got a really solid set of simple and small weapons that can fight against most targets. So I'm quite happy with this thing. It's also, if I pilot it manually, it can't be hit by crabs. It's too fast to be hit by crabs. So yeah, very happy with how this Rhino turned out. And I'm looking forward to building more two-parter mechs. I do intend to stay within the volume limit of the Ashes of the Empire campaign. It's rather strict at 2,000 meters cubed. This is sitting at 1,650 already. So I think we're going to have to take some of Twin Guard's tricks of making like a Titan base or whatever, and then having two separate vehicles. We might have to implement that later, but for the time being, we're going to try to stick within the volume limit, because that sounds fun to me. I like the idea of deploying, you know, a dozen or so smaller vehicles instead of one Giga Chad capital ship. So, yeah. It doesn't really belong amongst a whole bunch of other things that are named after Greek warriors. We just have a random mech called the Rhino. But it's staying here because we love him. He's derpy, and he's got some fire coming out of his shoulders, but we love him. Up next, I've got two different main battle tanks that I threw together. Now, one of these is focused on being very offense-heavy, and the other one is very defense-heavy. This one over here is the Phalanx main battle tank, coming in at 55,000 materials. It's got a 250mm gun that fires twice a second. It's firing 2 warhead frag, so pretty decent shells. The armoring on this is 3 layers of metal thick, and then a layer of wood in case it gets hit with Hesh, and then a layer of heavy armor around the turret, and then the turret is also armored inside of that. This thing is a brick, and it has some repair capability. It's very difficult to take down. In contrast, over here we have the Pike main battle tank coming in at 58,500 materials. A much more offensive setup. It's got a couple of chase missiles. One is an HE and one is a frag, and its gun is dual heat. So, oh no. I just want to show this off here. It's a dual heat shell. This has the potential to do damage straight through ERA. So normally ERA would completely cancel out a whole heat or Hesh round, but with the dual heat, one of these gets canceled out and the other one keeps going. It's still big enough that it can destroy some functional components with just the one. So the idea is that this gun can defeat ERA armor. So I'm very excited to see how that actually works. The guns on the front are 500mm 2-segment Hesh guns. This is the shell. Surprisingly, it does 21,000 Hesh falling damage. Hesh-based falling damage. So if this hits metal, or if this hits a decent armor block, the fragments that come out of it are actually really intense and in very, very high damage. The idea behind this is I don't know what I'm going to be fighting. So I'm going into this campaign basically blind. There are 4 designs I have let myself see so far. It's the Python, the Sand Raider, the Sand Viper, and the Mule. These are the only tanks that I have seen so far, and I'm not letting myself see anything more until it's actually in the campaign. Now, that being said, I did try to take a lot of tricks, and I did fiddle around with wheels and tracks and making a whole bunch of different stuff just to get a feel for this and whatnot. But I'm hoping that between these vehicles right here, that I'm going to be able to at least hold off the first good variety of opponents. Cover your ears again. It blasted all the way through 3 layers of metal, and then the layer of wood, and then the layer of heavy armor, and then another layer of applique, and then through the entire gun. So if that gives you an idea of how much damage potential this thing has in it, then there you go. I really can't wait to see what this actually does to some of the enemy craft. That's the design showcase. That's what I got for you. I hope you're excited for the campaign, because I know that I am. And I love this camo. I love the aesthetic. I'm really trying to go heavy in on making things have an aesthetic sort of theme, and the camo is really helping me in that, because I'm not the best aesthetic builder, but if I can make everything look like it belongs on the same team with this camo, then that's good enough for me. Anyway, that's all I got for you. I'm out for now. I've been Zacargo, and this has been fun. And I'll see you guys Friday with that first episode of the campaign. Bye!